these 10 days of doing Vipassana have been the hardest thing that I've done my whole life. I want to leave the course. It causes a lot of anxiety. They call it like a mind surgery. A lot of your fear, old fear that's been repressed, that comes up. Being poorly parented, having your heart broken at a very tender age. I think I have to really figure out this whole lighting situation because right now, you won't believe it, I'm going to be shooting this entire video on Instagram stories because on camera the lighting is so harsh that it looks like I have sunspots like darkening all over my face, and it looks frightening to say the least. So we're not doing that, girl. We're just going to be hitting play and pause. And of course, we're going to be saving all of these stories and stitching them all together and putting this YouTube video out. If you think being a creator is easy, it's too easy. Anyway, hi, I am in Bangalore. I moved to Bangalore if you didn't know yet, and I am literally in a sweater. The sun is out, but it is kind of chilly. The place where I stay, like it's been super windy, so usually I'm indoors around this time of the day, which is like afternoon, wearing a sweater because it is kind of chilly inside the house. And yeah, so I'm in a sweater. I was also wearing socks, and those are updates you need to know for today. Oh, I also made this thing called the Nepali chukni, and it was mind blowing. It's probably like the best thing that I've made in terms of comfort food my whole life. And my husband really liked it. He is pretty much looking forward to like coming home in the evening and having it again for dinner. So I'm saving it for him. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of cooking. We've moved into a home, as you can see. We just decided that we want to move into a place and upgrade a little bit in terms of just the amenities available. So we moved into a place which has a really nice kitchen. So I've been really enjoying my time at home, just being able to whip up dishes. I try and cook. We don't have a cook. We're not having. I mean, I'm trying not to have somebody cook for us, but I'm trying to make like 2 meals a day at least. So like our breakfasts and dinners are sorted. He gets his lunch in office, but I usually like just try and eat 2 meals a day because I don't think I'm living the kind of life where you need 3 meals a day. But it's been really nice. It's been so nice to be able to work in a kitchen where I am not like toiling because there's no ventilation, there is no space to chop the vegetables and to do the preparation and whatnot. So I've been having a really nice time in Bangalore. I thought I would miss Delhi, but I don't. I don't want to live a life where you're missing things. If you're also wondering what do I have on my lips, my eyes, and my cheeks, I actually have it somewhere around here. I am wearing the Road Toasted Teddy blush. It is something that I made a story about. Not a story, I made a reel about it 2, 3 days ago, and I'm in love with this. I did not think it would look good on my lips, but it does. So I think this could be like the perfect shade for my eyes. Like I put a little bit on my eyelids, I put some on my cheek and my nose, and then I put it on my lips, and it kind of like it's really nice. Great purchase. And if you're looking for it, you'll have to find somebody who can source it for you from the States. Right. My Vipassana experience. So I don't have a script for this. I don't even have pointers. I just thought maybe I could try and like wing this video with like absolutely no material sitting in front of me. And I basically went for Vipassana in August. I got an admit for the 24th of August. So the first thing that I want to get into is why it is that I decided to go for Vipassana. I had heard about Vipassana many, many years ago when somebody I knew went for Vipassana and they were much older than me. And I remember the first thing that they told me when they came back from Vipassana is that you literally sit around the whole day without moving and you meditate. Like you go into a deep meditation stage and you don't move. And that thing about not moving, like you're not allowed to move, just spooked me. And I think I was just generally not at that stage of my life where I was like, oh, I need to go away to some retreat to figure out everything. And so I was also really young. I think I was 22, 23, if I'm not wrong. So that was the first time I heard of Vipassana. What has happened since then is like, of course, his life has gone on, and I am 29 now. And I got married a few months ago. I got married in Feb. I also left my job in November last year. And a lot has changed since then. Not just my life, but also in the way I see myself. And I think the whole thing snowballed, especially after I got married and the last few months, because nobody really prepares you for like life after getting married, and it's not hunky dory. Like, I think it's definitely been a lot of like figuring out for both me and my husband, not just like with our journey together, but also our individual journeys. Like, my husband is figuring something out, like work wise, and it's like a first for him in many ways, and therefore like he has his own like unique struggle over there. I have completely dissociated my identity from my career. That's also why it's hard for me to like figure out what it is that I want to do next. So I'm having my own journey with my own sense of self in that regard. And then there's also like us coming together and having to figure out life. And therefore, there have been a lot of things that have been thrown our way which have been challenging. And so it's not been an easy last few months. In fact, it's been tumultuous, to be very honest. It's not been cakewalk. Obviously, like I think whatever familiar tools or processes or our knowledge of things has fallen short in figuring out what it is that we should be doing to be able to move forward from whatever it is that we're both going through. And so one of our friends who's been to Vipassana, he recommended it to Div, my husband, because I think he's also been having a very stressful time with his work. He was just visibly much more in distress, and that is when he decided that okay, fine, you know what, I'll take the plunge and I'll go and try Vipassana. So he went for Vipassana, and when he came out, the first thing that he told me is you need to go as well because I think this Vipassana definitely has some answers on how it is that we want to figure out our marriage, our sense of selves, our own individual journeys and whatnot. So I was very, very convinced and I immediately started looking up a course that I could like sign up for. And so like I literally found a course which was available in terms of like the number of seats 3 days after he came out, and I was so gung ho about going. I was just like all prepped and I was packing, purchasing things, this and that. And then he actually booked my flight to Gujarat. That's where the center is. On our way to the airport, we saw that he booked me for a different date, which is like end of that month. So we just had to like come back because there were no flights available. So the center that both of us went to is the center which is located in Kutch. It's in this small place called I'm forgetting what it's called. I'll put it somewhere over here. But we went there, both of us went there. And the reason we went there is because there are centers all over India. But then most of them, like especially the ones that are located in proximity to cities that you can easily fly to and then go to the center, they are usually booked out. So even if like right now you're interested in doing Vipassana and you look up dhamma.org, you will not easily find seats in some of the most like popular centers, and so we end up going to Kutch for that. So you literally like take a flight from Delhi to Ahmedabad, and then it's like a 8 hour drive to Kutch, and then you take another like yeah, it's an 8 hour drive to the center. Sorry, you do all of that traveling and then you check in to the center. But that's the reason why I decided to go for Vipassana because I think we've had a very challenging last few months. And then my husband went and tried it and he really, really advocated for it, not just to me, but like to my family, to our friends. Some of us end up going. My mom also ended up going to Vipassana. It was very compelling because he was saying so. And so we all just decided to go try it. It's finally gotten warm enough for me to take off the sweater. Also, because I think when you talk, you just are like high alert. So maybe that's why the sweats. What was Vipassana like? What is Vipassana? So, number one, you can look this information up. I'm sure there are a lot of YouTube videos on it, there are a lot of blogs on it. So, it's not that you can't find this information, but I don't want to tell you the day in and day out of Vipassana because it really helped me to not know what exactly my days look like during Vipassana. If I knew, I would have made up my mind about everything. I would have been mentally prepared and would have gone in with that mindset. And so, not knowing how the days are supposed to be conducted and what it is that you sign out for really helped me. Like, when you're there, you're almost cursing yourself because you don't know what it is that you signed out for and it's just coming to you. But in hindsight, I think it really helped to not know what exactly the course is made of. Like, maybe like here and there, I'll tell you. So, basically, Vipassana is a 10-day course. The day you go in is not counted as day one, it's counted as day zero. So, besides that, you have a 10-day course. Your day one begins the next day after you check in to your center. And then you have a whole 10-day thing. And then on the 12th day is when you leave. So, you have day one, which is when you come, and then your actual day one begins after that. So the whole thing is a 12-day thing. The first and the last day are when you're traveling, and between that you have all of those 10 days. So I remember when I went and I was like, oh my god, no, like I think me getting in on that center is like my day one, but it's not because even when you go, like on that day when you land at the center is the day where you're also like doing some meditation in the evening. So you're basically supposed to check in at around 5 in the evening and you're taken to your lodging and whatnot. Even though you do your meditation, it's not counted as day one. Things that I want to mention is that Vipassana is free. You don't pay for anything. You don't pay for the food, for the lodging, for the sessions that are conducted. It is all for free because this is the philosophy of how they want to conduct Vipassana. Therefore, like despite it being free, it's some of the most excellent facilities. Like the one where I stayed was located in a very serene location. There were like forests everywhere. I think we were in a small village, but then they did a really good job of like putting that center together. Like there are like peacocks, and I saw so many different insects. Oh my God, I think when you're meditating the whole day and then you like are surrounded by nature, it is so trippy. It is so trippy to be like around nature to see like these interesting beetles and peacocks and monkeys. So given that, like I think you're taken care of in a really superior way. So I have had no complaints about the infrastructure, the food, the not service. I don't want to call it service. There are people they call sevaks, like they are there. They come and volunteer just to be of service to you when you're a course because they do have benefited from it. But then all the people who take care of you, like they're some of the sweetest people that I've met, and it was such an honor to be around such kindred souls. So I think the facility is excellent, and at the end of it, they do ask you, they don't ask you, but then you can make a donation if you want. So if you feel like it's been of any benefit to you, then you can very generously like make a donation. Or the other thing that they actually encourage more is dhamma service, which is the way like you have these sevaks who take care of you during your course come and volunteer at a nearby center. So yeah, I think the details are out of the way, and the way it begins, I'm going to give a rough timetable of what your days look like. You wake up at 4 in the morning, you get to like freshen up till like 4:30, 4:30 to like 6:30. You do meditation by yourself, and then you go and have your breakfast, and then it's like a whole day of meditation. And it progressively, like the meditation is not like what you do on the first day is not what you're doing on the last day. It progressively takes you through this journey, which is very relevant. So at the end of each day, like they have this discourse where SN Goenka ji himself, like I mean, he's no more, of course, but like it's his video recordings where he explains why you have done what you've done on that day, which makes so much sense. This is the 1 hour I used to look forward to the most, to be very honest. It was very, very, very enlightening. Gone over the details mostly that are relevant to just, knowing your ins and outs of Vipassana and your time there. You will be given food thrice. Breakfast and lunch are like the main meals, and then in the evening you're given like sufficient amount of snacks and tea to eat, and then you go to bed early, so like you don't even feel that hunger. I was super worried that like because I used to eat my dinners late before going to Vipassana, I was worried that I would get like hangry and I would be super irritable. But I think because from the time you go itself, you meditate, I've realized that my relationship with food is of a very restless one, where because my mind is restless, I gravitate towards food and I don't actually need to be eating as much as I used to. And so you don't feel that hunger, you don't feel that irritability because you're actually like equanimous, like you're centered and you're sitting with yourself, you're sitting with your unrest. And that is, by the way, the whole point of Vipassana. Like, that is my main takeaway. Vipassana offers you a tool that enables you to sit with your discomfort. The way that they teach you Vipassana is a way of meditating essentially, and you don't learn it on day one. You learn it after you are initiated into a simpler form of meditation. And once you have done that, once you've gotten a sense of your breath, is when they start teaching you Vipassana by day 3 and day 4. And when you get to that, you're like just a little more comfortable with like your body, your breath, and how you're holding it, and where your mind is wandering. And so there's a progression, full like scientific sense to why it is you're doing the course the way you're doing it. There have been attempts to like change this original way of learning Vipassana, and those have not like led to anything. And therefore the Vipassana that they teach you is the original Vipassana that Gautam Buddha had come up with when he achieved enlightenment. So you can be rest assured that what you're learning is the pure unadulterated form of Vipassana. And so when you go through it, the one thing that I want to tell you is that it is going to test you in a lot of ways that makes you uncomfortable. It will make you fearful. It will lead to some symptoms through the course where, like for instance, I was not doing well mentally at night because you have your own quarters. And so like when I was trying to sleep at night, I could hear voices. I started to feel a lot of anxiety. I wanted to leave by day 4, and the whole deal is that this is supposed to happen. Like you feeling that anxiousness, you maybe having headaches, you feeling ill. They're all things that are like manifesting because now you're going into the root cause of what it is that's causing you misery. And these are things that you'll unpack every single day. You're not going to have an answer to it by even day 3, day 4 when you're learning Vipassana. Like you think you will know what it means by day 5, day 6. No, you know it likely day 9, day 10, which is what it is that is the point of Vipassana. What happens is that like you have these symptoms, and a lot of people leave also, by the way. They don't encourage you to leave. They try and sit you down and counsel you as to, it's literally, they call it like a mind surgery. Like you yourself are like going through your brain, like you're literally dissecting your brain and trying to go deeper and deeper and deeper. That is why the course is also structured some kind of way. The meditation is performed in some kind of a chronological order. Therefore, like you leaving midway also means that you're just leaving an open wound when you're departing, and you're not like suturing it back. You're not like gone to a point of like healing or whatever it is that you want to call it. So it's also not advisable for you to leave between the course. But then I can also see why people want to leave the course. I want to leave the course. It causes a lot of anxiety, a lot of your fear, old fear that's been repressed that comes up. These 10 days of doing Vipassana have been the hardest thing that I've done my whole life. And I've done a bunch of things, like not like very, adventurous things, but then I have been out and about. I have like, tested the edge of my courage, of my boldness. And so I feel like this is by far, like by a significant margin, the hardest thing that I've done, because it's all internal. It is all mental. Everything that you're feeling is inside. And as you meditate, you go deeper and deeper and deeper. So a lot of the things that you have suppressed inside you, whether it's like childhood, unresolved feelings, being poorly parented, having your heart broken at a very tender age, dealing with like your first identity crisis, a lot of things remain suppressed inside us because we just have to get on with our life. We just have to keep getting on to the next thing because nobody's waiting around for us, right? Like we need to go make money, need to get past our own angst about ourselves, we need to be out in the world, we need to be doing so many things that are expected of us, especially in our 20s, that we don't have the time to sit and resolve all the things that we've been holding on to. And by the way, all of us, like literally all of us, are holding on to things because if you've been upset at someone, if you've been upset, if you felt misery, it's an indication of things that are being repressed, period. It's not a momentary thing, it is a thing that's coming up from the past, from a lot of terrible patterns of conditioning, of being around other people like our parents, elders, all of these people who've also been through life and have also gathered all of this misery. Us growing up around them has also just reinforced these terrible patterns of suppressing and repressing our feelings. And all of these things end up in our mind and in our body in some kind of way that are okay for us to survive, but not to thrive. When you're doing Vipassana, all of these things start surfacing. And they surface, first of all, in your body. So the whole point of Vipassana is that there's a connection between your mind and your body. And when you feel misery or when you also feel pleasure, like when you feel a good feel, so let's just call it for the sake of like convenience, a good feeling and a bad feeling. Both of these things get registered in our body first. You will feel a good thing. When you feel happy, you might feel it on your chest, you might feel it in your stomach, you might feel butterflies. Or when you're feeling a bad feeling, you might feel like a constriction of your chest, you might feel like a headache, you might feel off in your throat. And so all of these sensations are sensations that you feel in your body. And because we don't feel them through, because so much of it is unfelt, there is thing that we're trying to get distracted from, trying to move on from, they cause something to our mind as well. I would like to illustrate this with an example. For instance, if you recollect the time that you remember easily when you start to have feelings for someone or when you got involved with someone, those first few days of being attracted, of being enamored by someone, the way it made you feel, I want you to focus on the word feeling because that feeling is a sensation that you feel on your body. It might be elicited by that person's presence because of some kind of way that they are, whatever it is that you find attractive. They embody it and therefore they elicit that feeling in you. But you feeling it, that is your sensation, and that is a good sensation, by the way. Subsequently, when they break your heart or when they don't like you back or they like you back, you're together, but then eventually you break up, all of that leads to a bad feeling. They cause bad feelings in you. How is it that one thing objectively, like a person, is causing a good feeling in you and a bad feeling in you? Both. And of course, like a good feeling is not just like a high. There are like a plethora of things which is accounted for as pleasure, joy, happiness, sexual attraction. All of these are like the nice feelings, like the pleasurable, the good pleasures. And then there are the bad feelings, which is anxiety, anger, fear, low self-esteem. All of these are the bad feelings, right? But how is it that one particular person can make you feel all of that? Like, how can it be so opposite on the spectrum? Which is what Vipassana teaches you, is that all of these feelings are feelings that sit on your body, right? If you think of sexual pleasure, you feel it on your skin. And when you feel it on your skin, it's a thing that gets registered on your body and then in your mind. When you have a tiff with someone, you have a fight with someone, you're shouting at each other, and then there's that psychological response, that feeling of like anger or whatever that's in your mind that gets registered as something, right? And so what Vipassana teaches you is that you have these senses on your body, which is touch, taste, smell, sight. There's one more I'm forgetting. I'll put it up somewhere over here. And then there's also the mental feelings, which is what your mind is registering as you have conversations, as you engage with the world, as you reflect over things, cognition essentially, right? And all of this gets perceived. So the next level is perception. The next level of sensing these feelings, sensing these senses is perception. So, and then there's evaluation. So, evaluation is when after you have perceived these things, after you've consciously, subconsciously perceived all these feelings, then you evaluate it as a good or as a bad feeling. And what happens then? The thing that happens after that is that when the mind evaluates a thing as a good thing or as a bad thing, a good feeling, a bad feeling, when the mind registers that, if it's a good feeling, there's a desire that is formed. And if it's a bad feeling, there's an aversion that is formed. And because of that, because of the identification of a thing as a good thing or a bad thing, and therefore being labeled as a desire or as an aversion, you reach the fourth rung of hell, which is reaction. The final stage of being in this world is reaction, and reaction is governed by whether you think of a thing as a desirable thing or as a thing that you're averse to. And this is what you learn at Vipassana. Because of this constant habitual pattern of the mind of making its own mind up that a thing is desirable because it leaves a good sensation in your body, or a thing is I'm having an aversion to something because it's causing a bad feeling in my body. We are constantly developing an opinion and we're constantly labeling a thing as a good thing or a bad thing. What do you think happens when you start labeling, when you subconsciously do it? When the mind starts labeling everything either as a desirable thing or a aversive thing, the next obvious thing that happens is that we have cravings and we have aversions to them. If a thing is desirable, you crave for it all the fucking time. Like, if you have a great night out with your friends, you're constantly craving for it after that. If you have a bad time, if your boss has shouted at you, you're going to have an aversion to it, and therefore you're going to avoid. And the way Vipassana works, like the aim of Vipassana is to essentially have you for those 10 days observe how this mind works, your own mind, the way it sits on your body, the way feelings sit on your body, the way your mind and your body are interconnected in terms of perceiving, evaluating, reacting to this world. Vipassana gives you a tool to experience it. And the reason this experiencing is so important is because I'm sitting here and I'm explaining all of my learnings to you on this YouTube channel. And the thing is, you will not know it. You will understand it and you will intellectualize it and you'll be like, okay, maybe I'm understanding this and maybe it's like worth trying it out. But you will not know what it is that I'm talking about, even if I explain it to you, unless you've experienced it. And therefore, like I advocate, like I endorse, I highly endorse that you try Vipassana, because only when you sit and meditate all those days, you sit through your discomfort, you sit through those many, many meditation sessions, you sit through your fears, you sit through your angst, all of that, will you experience firsthand what it is that I'm talking about. Like, it is very easy to be like, oh, this happens, but you will never know what is happening, right? And therefore, it is important to experience it. Like when I sat there for so many days and meditated and understood all this pain in my body, like literally my back pain, which I've had forever, for like more than 15 years, is gone. It's not come back. The same thing happened to my husband. He had chronic back pain for the last few years and it's gone. Same thing for my mom. She had like a lower back pain. It went away after the third day of Vipassana. And so a lot of the pain that you accrue in your body is usually a sign of unchecked, unfelt, repressed feelings. And Vipassana gives you a tool. By the way, the founder of this Vipassana practice in India, SN Goenka, he went to Vipassana because he had migraine headaches for years on end. They had to start giving him morphine, and then they told the doctors told him, and he went to like different places all across the world trying to like fix his migraine headaches and trying to also not get addicted to morphine. And it's only when someone recommended Vipassana to him, he went, tried it out, and his migraine headaches went away. That is when he was compelled enough to like become a Dhamma teacher himself and come to India. And you'll, by the way, find out about the story. So I'm not going to tell you all of it. It's a very interesting story, by the way, his life. But it's me, like, it's one thing for me to explain it to you and for you to intellectually understand it, but it truly is something else for you to be going there, sitting through those days and experiencing what it is that I mean. I don't know about like how effective Vipassana is after you come out, because that's a very controlled setting where you're like cut off from your world. By the way, you don't even get to take your phone with you. You're out of the grid for like 10 whole days. So when you come back into the real world, they do ask you to do Vipassana like twice a day, like 1 hour each morning, evening. And I don't think it's sustainable. Like it's been like more than a month of me doing it. And I have been able to do it at best like once a day. But I still like see the benefits of it. I am still able to see things the way they teach you to see it. So there are like, I don't know how sustainable it is to like hold on to your learnings, but it is 100% worth like going to Vipassana and experiencing this thing that I'm trying to explain to you. I don't even know if I'm doing a good job explaining it, but it is so compelling. Like the one thing that I have internalized, like I've understood, is that there is nothing outside of me, of my mind, that can cause happiness, and more than that, misery. It is just our conditioning, it is us with our unfelt feelings and not being able to let go, and all of our attachment to what it is that is a good thing and what it is that is a bad thing that is causing misery. Shows you how you're attached to every single thing around you, attached to all your feelings inside you, because you've decided everything as a good thing or as a bad thing, and as a result of that, you have caused aversions inside you and you've caused desires inside you. And the whole problem with having desires, like you might think that by day 4, day 5, when you're like getting a sense of all this, you're just like, oh my god, like I'm able to like sit through my aversions, but like the desirable feelings, oh, I want them inside me. And the whole point of it is that when you start having desires, they ultimately lead to misery, because when you don't feel that pleasurable sensation in you when you're meditating, then you're just like, oh my god, where did that go? And now you're again restless. And so there is no point being attached to even pleasant sensations, because everything is temporary. That's the whole point of feelings. If you sit with your feelings, you will see that everything goes away. Like they sit on your body in some kind of way. When you're like very present, you will feel it in your body. That you can very keenly observe how this feeling sits on your body. And when you keep observing it and you just maintain your breath, those feelings go away. And when those feelings go away, you can address your current situation with a more peaceful mindset. Like you can address it with equanimity. Like if someone's bothering you, you can see the bother in your mind and in your body, because you're able to feel that sensation very strongly. And then you keep watching it and you don't respond to it. Like you don't react to it. I mean, you don't react to it, it goes away. And then you can just go and have a chat with the person or figure what it is that you want to do next. It's the same with like a pleasurable feeling, like you're going out dancing with your friends or whatever, and you have a great night. The best thing that you can do is not wake up the next morning craving for it, because you know that it was just a night out. And the more that you like get away from having a certain idea of how you want your life to play out, how do you want to be feeling every single day, the more you can just be actually present with a thing. You win, because you're not sitting around going like, hey, my dosa is not nice, and like this happened too late, and this delivery person didn't come, and my boss sent me an email after work hours, or whatever, like my trip got cancelled. When you're not sitting around constantly developing aversions to things or desires to specific things, you can just jostle with life. And from a place of equanimity, from a place of peace, and why wouldn't you want that? The more peaceful you are, the better the outcomes are for any situation that you're in. If you're having a tough time with someone and you're equanimous, you can go and talk to them with love. And when you go and talk to them with love, like there is more reciprocity in terms of what it is that you're trying to get to. If you stop developing such a strong aversion towards your boss, you can just deal with the next time they speak to you a certain kind of way with from a place of equanimity, from a place of not being as bothered. By day 9, by day 10, you realize that the whole point is to be equanimous and not to get attached to like these desires and cravings. But then on the final day, you learn that yes, equanimity, but much more than that, love. Ultimately, equanimity should lead you to a place of compassion where you realize that now that you're aware of how your mind responds to things as a good thing or as a bad thing, you can look around and you can see that everyone is a victim of this. And because you see so fundamentally now that you've been through these 10 days of meditating, you develop this very real and very inherent compassion for everybody who probably has not had the privilege of going for Vipassana. And you're able to see why they are the way they are. And that just leads to compassion, ultimately love. And so when you're in a place of equanimity, you can err towards compassion. So the whole point is to ultimately go to a place of love because you see that the world is full of misery, the world is full of these cravings and aversions, and all of us are full of it. And not everyone gets to go to Vipassana, not everyone gets to have this realization in a very experiential manner, and so all of us are suffering. Literally, all of us are suffering. Like, it doesn't matter how rich, how poor, how anything, like all of us are suffering because of the way our mind works, because of this habitual pattern of constantly labeling a thing as a good thing or as a bad thing because of the sensations it delivers on our body. And so when that happens, when you fundamentally know this for yourself as an experience during Vipassana, you can't help but to feel empathy for others who have not had this experience of being at Vipassana and seeing it for what it is. And that leads to love. Like, I came out of Vipassana feeling so much love. Like, on the first day, I had a flight at 5 p.m. From Bhuj, and I had the whole day to myself because they let you out by like 7:30 in the morning. And I literally like booked a cab and I told him that like, hey, I'm not from around this place. So like, why did this fly? Anyway, we're friends now. But I had the whole day and I had booked a cab. Me and the cab guy, we got along so well. Like, he took me to Bhuj. I went and saw a couple of things that I wanted to see, like the Aina Mahal, which is by the way so amazing. Like, my first day back in the world after I came out of Vipassana was like being on psychedelics. Like, everything was so high definition. Like, the food I ate was the best food I've eaten. I had dal pakwan for the first time. My cab guy introduced it to me when we were in Bhuj, and it was so mind blowing. It was so top notch. The people in that place are so kind. Like, I'm not explored much of Gujarat. I've only been to Ahmedabad once, like many years ago. And the people of Kutch are so humble and they're so nice and receptive that I didn't feel like I was in some part of the country which I have never visited, and I was not comfortable. I was not uncomfortable at all. And the whole day, like the airport also is a really small airport, and I came in early. So the morning flight got cancelled, and so the airport only was shut because there are only two flights that go out. And I came early, and the airport was shut. And like all those officials, like they just made sure that I was sitting in a place where the fan was on outside the airport, and they opened the airport early just so I could come in and sit in the air conditioning. They were that nice. And even through the day, like I had to wait around at the airport until my flight, and people just came up and spoke to me, and it was just so nice. Like, I had such a lovely time interacting with people, and I think it was also because I was just full of compassion, the kind of compassion that I haven't felt all of my life. I think ever since I became a teenager, an angry teenager, or whatever. Like, I just felt the kind of compassion that I've not felt in too long. Even like the way I was thinking of my friends, my family, my partner, myself, people after Vipassana was so dramatically different. Like, I went into Delhi that evening. I was flying to Delhi, and it's like a 1 hour journey from the airport to my in-laws. And that entire duration, I was just like looking around and feeling such intense compassion and love for everybody who's just trying their best to be very honest in life. And that's what Vipassana does to you. It just gives you perspective, which I think can very easily get lost because we're all struggling in some kind of way, either like physically, existentially, logistically, whatever, right? We're all just struggling with our own demons. Able to get out of your own head and to see people from a place of love, it was just something that I feel like all of us are so far apart from, and that's another reason I recommend Vipassana. Vipassana is capable of bringing back the kind of love and compassion that you might have held for people when you were a child, when you were like a very young child, and then because life happens some kind of way, like all of us lose our way. And so I think Vipassana has really made me feel very deeply about everyone. Like, strangers included, not just my own people. And I'm really thankful for it because it gives me so much perspective on my everyday life. Where I don't know if you've read that essay by David Foster Wallace, which is called This Is Water, or maybe it was a speech, I'm not sure. But then he talks about this thing where we just feel like what's going on in our mind is what is going on in the world, which is basically a projection of our inner state. And that's not the world. Everyone is going through something and everyone's miserable in some kind of way. And the only thing that we can do to rise above it is to have love inside us. And love cannot be manufactured, it can only be felt. We happen when we ourselves are peaceful. And to achieve that place of peace, takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of like centering. It takes a lot of like seeing the way our mind works and rejecting it, right? Yeah, I think that's what I learned from Vipassana. That number one, equanimity, like the opposite of attachment, is not becoming detached. It's not about giving up on everything. It's about giving up on your ideas of a good thing or a bad thing in life. And the second thing that I learned is that we don't know what love is. And maybe I'll make another video on that particular subject because I feel like that's a very interesting thing that I learned. I have not talked about it during this video. I've spoken about love as an extension of compassion, but I've not gone into what I now consider love as. I'll make a video on that. But I hope this video, I also made this video as a form of my own Dhamma service. I hope I can inspire one or two of you to at least go and check it out. I hope I can inspire some of you to at least look up what Vipassana is and maybe like try it out at a time when you are able to afford like 10, 12 days to yourself because it truly is life changing. It's one of the hardest things that you will do. I'm not going to lie about it, but the benefits of it are incredible. It is something that will probably like, I think my life right now is literally like pre Vipassana and post Vipassana, where I just have a much better understanding of the mind and also of love. And so when you have this tool with you, you can just navigate life better as like when you come out of Vipassana. So I highly recommend it. And if you do end up going to Vipassana because of this video, please let me know. I hope you have a great day. Bye.